Welcome back. What if I told you that a small, old coin could be worth far more than its face value? Today, we are diving into two incredible American coins, one from the Civil War era and another from the wild frontier days. These aren't just coins, they're pieces of history with hidden stories and surprising value. So stay with us, because what you're about to see might completely change how you look at old coins forever. Fire. Imagine holding a coin that existed during one of the most dramatic and defining moments in American history. A time when the nation was divided, uncertainty was everywhere, and the future of a country was being decided. That's exactly what the 1861 Indian head cent represents. This is not just a 1-cent coin. This is a real piece of the Civil War era, a silent witness to history that has survived for more than 160 years. Let's take a closer look. At first glance, the coin may seem simple, but once you understand its design, history, and value, you realize it's something truly extraordinary. Starting with the front of the coin, you'll see the image of a woman wearing a Native American feathered headdress. Many people assume this is a Native American figure, but in reality, it's Lady Liberty herself. This design was created to symbolize freedom, strength, and unity. The designer of this coin was James Barton Longacre, who served as the chief engraver of the U.S. Mint. His goal was to create a coin that would represent American identity during a time when the nation was struggling to stay united. Now look closely around the edge. You'll see the words United States of America, and just below the portrait, the year 1861 is clearly visible. That date is what makes this coin incredibly special. Because 1861 was not just any year. It was the beginning of the American Civil War. This was the year when tensions between the North and South finally erupted into conflict. Families were divided, economies were shaken, and the entire nation was facing one of its darkest periods. And during this exact time, this coin was being minted and used in everyday transactions. Think about that. This very coin could have been carried by a soldier, exchanged in a small shop, or saved by someone during uncertain times. It's not just metal, it's a living piece of history. Now let's turn the coin over. On the reverse side, you'll see a beautiful wreath surrounding the words 1 cent. At the top of the wreath, there is a small shield. This shield was added to symbolize unity and strength, something that was desperately needed during the Civil War. Every detail on this coin has meaning. From the headdress to the wreath to the shield, everything reflects the identity and struggles of America during that time. Now let's talk about something everyone wants to know. What is this coin actually worth? Well, the value of an 1861 Indian head cent depends on a few key factors. First, condition. If the coin is worn out, with faded details, it may be worth around $10 to $30. But if the details are still sharp, especially the feathers in the headdress and the wreath on the back, the value can increase significantly. Coins in fine condition can easily reach $50 to $100 or more. And if you're lucky enough to have one in excellent condition or with a rare minting error, the value can go even higher, sometimes reaching hundreds of dollars. Second, rarity. Although many Indian head cents were produced, not all of them have survived in good condition. Over time, coins get lost, damaged, or worn down. So finding one from 1861 in decent shape is already something special. Third, historical importance. Coins from the Civil War era are always in demand among collectors. Why? Because they represent a powerful story. They are physical reminders of a time that shaped the future of the United States. And that adds emotional and historical value beyond just money. Now here's something interesting. Unlike modern coins, the Indian head cent was made from a copper-nickel alloy in its early years. This gave it a slightly different color and feel compared to later pennies. Over time, the composition changed, but the early versions, like the 1861 coin, are especially prized by collectors. So if you have one of these coins, you're not just holding a penny. You're holding a connection to history. A moment in time when the world was very different. A moment that helped shape the future. And that's what makes coin collecting so fascinating. It's not just about value, it's about discovery. It's about uncovering stories that have been hidden in plain sight for decades, even centuries. So the next time you see an old coin, don't ignore it. Look closer. Because something that seems small could actually be priceless. Now imagine stepping into a completely different era. The year is 1925. The world is changing fast, cars are becoming common, jazz music is rising, and America is entering what we now call the Roaring Twenties. But even in this time of modernization, one coin stood out by looking back into the nation's past. That coin is the legendary Buffalo nickel. At first glance, it might seem like just another old 5-cent coin. But once you truly examine it, you realize it's one of the most artistic and meaningful coins ever created in American history. Let's start with the front design. On the obverse side, you'll see a powerful profile of a Native American man. The detail is strong, bold, and deeply expressive. But here's something fascinating. This is not a portrait of just one individual. The designer, James Earl Fraser, actually combined features from multiple Native American chiefs to create this image. His goal was to honor the Native American people and represent their strength, dignity, and cultural importance in American history. Every line on the face, from the cheekbones to the feathers, was carefully crafted to tell a story. Now flip the coin over. On the reverse side, you'll find the image that gives this coin its name, a massive American bison, often called a buffalo. The animal stands firmly, symbolizing power, endurance, and the wild spirit of the American frontier. It's believed that this design was inspired by a real bison named Black Diamond, who lived in the Central Park Zoo in New York. Below the buffalo, you'll see the words 5 cents, clearly marking its value. But this coin is not just about design, it's about identity. The Buffalo nickel represents a time when America was still connected to its natural landscapes and its frontier past. Even in 1925, when cities were growing and industries were booming, this coin reminded people of where they came from. Now let's talk about the year, 1925. This particular Buffalo nickel comes from a period of economic growth and cultural transformation. But despite all the change happening around it, the coin's design stayed true to America's roots. And that's what makes it so unique. Now, let's answer the big question. How much is a 1925 Buffalo nickel worth? The answer depends on a few important factors. First, condition. If your coin is heavily worn, with faded details on the Native American face or the buffalo, it might only be worth a few dollars. But if the design is still clear and detailed, the value can increase significantly. Collectors pay close attention to the sharpness of the features, especially the buffalo's horn and the details in the feathers. Second, mint mark. Buffalo nickels were minted in different locations, including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Coins from certain mints are rarer than others. For example, a 1925 Buffalo nickel minted in San Francisco is known to be more valuable, especially in better condition. Third, rarity and errors. Some Buffalo nickels have minting errors, such as double strikes, off-center designs, or missing details. These rare errors can make a coin extremely valuable, sometimes worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. So if you have a 1925 Buffalo nickel, it's definitely worth taking a closer look. But here's the most important part. This coin is not just about money. It's about history, culture, and storytelling. It represents a connection to the American frontier, a time when vast landscapes, wild animals, and native traditions define the nation's identity. Holding this coin is like holding a piece of that world, a world that no longer exists in the same way, but still lives on through objects like this. And when you combine this with the coin from Part 1, the 1861 Indian head cent, you get something truly powerful. 2 coins, 2 different eras, one from the Civil War and one from the Roaring Twenties. Together, they tell the story of a nation, its struggles, its growth, and its identity. So the next time you come across an old coin, don't just see it as spare change, see it as a piece of history, because sometimes the smallest things carry the biggest stories.